So let's talk about the Celebration Bowl. So let's take a little bit of a break and talk about Jackson State, Arielle. So North Carolina Central is an amazing institution. You know a lot about them because they're North Carolina A&T's rival, and you're a big fan and supporter of Davius Richard. You've brought him up a lot on the podcast on this year. So tell me about North Carolina Central and, you know, their path to being to this moment and what they'll bring to the Celebration Bowl on December the 17th.
Yeah, let's switch gears. Well, first, congratulations to Davius Richards, and not just him, but most of his team was actually nominated for a lot of HBCU awards, but he won HBCU MEAC Offensive Player of the Year along with another associated his on the team. So congratulations for that, and congratulations for the team overall, just having an amazing season with 9-2, 4-1 in conference. Absolutely beautiful. Looking just between them and the stats, I personally would have to say this is going to be one of the closest, most interesting Celebration Bowls that we're ever going to see. Just because looking at numbers, North Carolina Central is so similar to Jackson State when it comes to time of possession, when it comes to rushing and passing yards. Now, when you look at it very closely, what's going to be heavily relied on for North Carolina Central is their running game. Their rushing game is a little bit more in numbers than it is Jackson State because that's how they make most of their points, specifically when it comes to Davius Richards. And then also you have to look at Collier, his most favorite and favorable running back that he has on the field. Between those two, they're going to have the most rushing yards on the field and also the most chances to make it into the red zone and score those touchdowns. Also have to give to EJ Hicks, his number one wide receiver, that scored the most, as well as has the most touches and the most receiving yards out of the whole team. Those are the things that you're going to look for in my key players for that game. The only thing that I think is going to be a challenge is defensively. Of course, you have Mansfield and you have Brandon Corderington, and he was also the MEAC Defensive Player of the Year from that team as well. So when you look at their defense compared to Jackson State, it's a little bit uneven. I think Jackson State, just to be frank with you, just has a little bit more build and a little bit more power just than North Carolina Central does. These teams have never met before, and I know they've kept a close eye on each other, but they both have what team is worse than the other. But I can honestly say this is going to be a challenge defensively playing against Shedeur, because even though Shedeur is not a runner, his pocket holds up very, very well. He's not the best runner, and he doesn't want to take the option as running. But if he can throw it down the field and you're more focused on trying to play man instead of zone, that's how he's going to get those passes on you. That's how he gets those 20, 30-yard passes down the field, and then they end up within 4 plays within the red zone. That's something that Central cannot allow to happen. Of course, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and we're going to look to see if this is going to be a high-scoring game, because we know Central likes to score most of his points, especially 20-plus points, before the second quarter. Usually in the first quarter, it's been historically written that in this particular season that they scored 20-plus points within the first quarter and then 40 points before the end of the half. I don't think that's going to happen against Jackson State. I don't think they're going to allow that to happen, but I do believe this is going to be a high-scoring game. Like I said, again, congratulations to Central and being comparably what is even close to looking like a competition against Jackson State. I think they pulled through. And by pulled through, I mean maybe by a field goal or at least a touchdown. We might even see a safety in this game that can actually win it. It's a lot of things that can happen, but my vote, of course, is going to have to be in the MEAC, because I'm a MEAC fan and I've graduated from a school that's the MEAC. It's going to have to go to Central. I would love to see them have this win. They haven't been actually to the Celebration Bowl. I had a Celebration Bowl win, I would like to say, since 2016.
Yeah.
That's specifically fine. But I would love to see this team rise from what has been an incredible season and actually what FAMU actually could have looked like. Kind of the same record, kind of the same numbers. So I'm a little excited to see what happens in a week and a half. And I think this is going to say a lot for them and actually help them in recruitment, because their recruitment numbers were down from earlier this year when they were playing in the spring games. It actually was, and then bringing up Davius Richards, this man is, when they started with him, it wasn't great. His numbers were still building. He looked like what actually Jeremy Musa looked in his previous years. But now that he's a full developed quarterback, I think this is going to prove to be some competition to Shedeur Sanders, working with a quarterback that can actually do both, but prefers to run with his legs.
So I think, first and foremost, that was a great breakdown. I want to first point out the battle between, Shedeur and Davius Richard. Like, they're very similar in their numbers. Shedeur is a better passer. Davius is a better runner. So when you look at Shedeur, he was 284, 405 in the regular season, 32 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 3,083 yards passing, a 70% completion percentage, 280 yards passing per game. He had 159 rush yards for 5 rushing touchdowns. But you have Davius Richard to compare, 184, 291 in passing, 24 passing touchdowns. He had 10 interceptions. Passing yards, 2,486, which is great. 63% completion percentage, which is really great. But he had 691 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns. So you compare 24 passing touchdowns and 13 rushing touchdowns. Like, he's responsible for a lot moving into that. So I said this last week, Jackson State is so talented, especially defensively. They haven't faced a quarterback like Davius Richard because the quarterbacks that are similar to Davius in his dynamicness is Musa. They beat down Musa. He didn't score a touchdown. You got Andrew Body. He did okay against them, but Texas Southern didn't win. And then you have Hodge Malik Williams that plays for Campbell. He did pretty good this season. He's a really great quarterback, but against Jackson State, he was rendered ineffective. I do not think that Davius Richard is really going to back down to that defense. I think that they bring pressure, he's going to find a way out of it. I think if they try to drop back, he's going to run. I think if they try to play man, he's going to find his receiver. Like, I just really believe that Davius Richard is someone that they have not seen, because they've not seen a quarterback that can really stand toe-to-toe with Shedeur, because Shedeur is a great quarterback, but Davius Richard is a great quarterback as well. And I think that just the specter of attention that goes towards Jackson State, plus the Heisman buzz that Deion Sanders started, that wasn't going to happen, but it was cool to talk about it. Davius Richard, to me, is, I think, the direct descendant, as far as his play, of, Steve McNair. Because I think that Davius Richard shows me more Steve McNair than Shedeur. Shedeur shows me pocket passer. Like, Shedeur is literally trained by Tom Brady. And you see that Tom Brady-ness from Shedeur. Shedeur is more mobile, but Shedeur is so knowledgeable about what's going on. He makes the right play. If it's third down, I know that Shedeur is going to get me that first down. If you're in the red zone, I know Shedeur somehow, some way is going to find a way to get that touchdown. That's the same way I think about Tom Brady. When you see Tom Brady like against the Saints on Monday, it's 16-10 going to the fourth quarter. Y'all going to lose because Tom Brady going to figure out a way. He going to figure out a throw. He going to do something. And we can say, oh, the referees, oh, it's rigged, all the deflated balls. All of that is true. But Tom Brady just flat out is good. And we just sometimes we have to accept it. And Shedeur Sanders is good. Like, he can move. He's sort of athletic. He's not the quickest guy, but if he needs to scramble, he can get where he needs to be. He can get away from the pressure. He rarely is ever sacked. If he's sacked, you're doing a good job. Like, Alabama State sacked him a couple times. You're doing a good job if you sack him, because he's so great at eluding that pressure. And then if he sees the pressure and he knows, I can't do anything, I can't throw, I'm just going to throw it out of bounds. He is so good at that. But you're seeing a guy that is just as good. But my thing here is this. We don't know who's playing that game. I wish I could give you more analysis like the way that Arielle gave a brilliant breakdown of North Carolina Central. But I can't. Because to be real with you, is Shedeur even going to play? Because there's been a lot of conversation on Twitter, and I don't think that we're going to see Jackson State say, Deion Sanders, go to Colorado, bro. You're not playing, or you're not coaching. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're telling Shedeur, go. I don't think they're telling Travis Hunter, go. I don't think they're telling Shiloh, who most likely is actually going to go there, because Deion Sanders announced that Shiloh's the safety. So I'm pretty sure Shiloh's he wants to stay at Jackson State, we presume. But I'm pretty sure he's going to sort of suck it up and say, man, listen, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm going with my dad. You know, so Jackson State could look very mediocre and very different from the team that Deion Sanders built, that was built around his son. You know what I mean? Like, Deion Sanders wants to stay and coach his final game, which by all accounts, I think is admirable, because he could have just left in the middle of the night and said, forget Jackson State, figure it out. He could have done that, but he didn't. I will give him that. He didn't do that. Now, how he left was very problematic and questionable, but he didn't do that. And all metrics, he's back on Jackson State's campus, and he's getting them ready for the Celebration Bowl, along with recruiting for Colorado. But I just don't know what's going to happen, because it's players that have entered the transfer portal. They're not big contributors yet. I think that the scenario that we most likely see is Shedeur, Travis Hunter, Kevin Coleman. They're going to enter the transfer portal after the Celebration Bowl, win or lose. That Sunday, like Sunday, December the 18th, they're going to drop their announcements. Pretty sure the graphics already made, especially for Shedeur. Shedeur and Travis' graphics have been made probably for a minute. But like everybody else, they're going to take graphics done. It's going to be like, they look very similar. Yeah, because the same designer did it. Like, because they all go with Deion Sanders. The same designer did their graphic. So it's like, they're going to leave afterwards, but we just don't know, because it's a lot of significant pressure from alum in the HBCU community to not let Deion Sanders coach. Do I want Deion Sanders to coach that game? Yes. Why do I want him to coach that game after the breakdown that I did, the evisceration, as you like to call it in the media? That's going to be the last dance. Did you see the ratings numbers for Michael Jordan's last game as a Bull? Man, let's bring in 3 million so I can brag and say the Celebration Bowl got 3 million, because you know that's what I'm going to do. And because it's like, it's a storyline, man. This is Deion Sanders' last game going up against a tough North Carolina Central team that has been to the Celebration Bowl before, and it eluded them only by 2 points in 2016 against a very great, probably one of the better SWAC teams of the past 10, 15 years, Broderick Fobbs' 2016 Grambling. So they want to come back and win. They had an amazing season. They beat North Carolina A&T. They beat New Hampshire. They did lose to South Carolina State, but that was one of the games of the year. So you're going against a team that's tough. So on that Jackson State side, I don't know if you want to miss that. That's compelling television. Like, what other bowl game has that level of hype around it? I mean, like, we can look at the schedule and say, well, yeah, there's others. It very well could be others. But that's a bowl game that I think that these non-HBCU folks that are all 1,000% Deion or all the HBCU alum are wrong, I think they're going to watch that game. I think HBCU football is high school football, they're going to watch that game, because that's going to be too big to miss. But one X factor that we have to look at, and we have to look at it from a dynamic perspective. We think, and I said last week, what's going to happen with all the rumors and circulation around Deion Sanders leaving? Is Jackson State going to capitalize, or are they going to falter? They did not falter, and I salute to them for that. But my thing is, now it's been weeks and things are circulating and players are transferring. Now what's going to happen? Personally, I like to be, I know, Arielle, you like to be the devil's advocate, but can I borrow it from you for a moment? Because I made you the judge in the last segment. So can I borrow the devil's advocate for a moment? So I believe that Jackson State is going to be just fine if Deion Sanders coaches without any drama, if he gets Shedeur and Travis to play, and Kevin Coleman and Sylveon Wickerson is still on that team. I think it's going to be a better game than we expect. I think that they are emotionally drained a little bit, but I don't think they're not ready to play. I think between now as we record this, I believe that they're going to go out there and play. I honestly believe that. I don't know that for a fact, but I know based off the poise that they showed in the SWAC championship against Southern, I know that the poise that they've shown in the graciousness in Deion Sanders leaving, and also just really the sides of the team that Deion Sanders Jr. has shown via Deion Sanders' Facebook page and Well Off Media, which is his YouTube page. I think that there's an era of gratefulness that we're not giving Deion Sanders, because we're right to hold him to the carpet. But I don't think the players feel the same way we do. I think it might be some that's like, yeah, he left us out high and dry. But I think that the players are like, we played for a Hall of Fame football player. We played for Deion freaking Sanders. Like, there's Michael Jordan, there's Michael Jackson, there's Mike Tyson, there's Deion Sanders. We're talking about the 90s. So you're dealing with like one of the biggest stars. It's the truth. It's the truth. You're dealing with one of the biggest stars of the 90s. Like, these folks' parents know Deion. Deion must be the money, sidestepping in the end zone. Like, they know this man. The Cowboys dynasty, they know this man. So it's like, this guy was on top of the world, played in the World Series and the Super Bowl. Like, I think that they're grateful because everyone does not get that opportunity to be under a legend. So we don't have that association with Deion Sanders nor with the team. I think that they're going to be like, man, I am in the status of thankfulness. And I'm going to go out there this last game and I'm going to put a period on this season where it says 12-0. Now, do I think North Carolina Central is going to win? Yes, I do think they're going to win. I think North Carolina Central is going to win. But I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be the blowout that people are thinking. I think that North Carolina Central better not think it's sweet. They better not think, oh, they in disarray. We're going to run through them. No. Go in there and act like you playing Jackson State. Just like how you didn't underestimate when you played New Hampshire. Just like you didn't underestimate when you played Campbell and you lost. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm picking North Carolina Central to win, and I want this for Davius Richard. But I think that Jackson State, in summation, is going to be fine because I think that they're entering this situation with an air of thankfulness.
My mic obviously didn't want me to speak because I'm just seeing her like that. Don't ever borrow my devil's advocate again. And that was poor showmanship. That was. I think the worst. I think the complete worst. If they don't play, I feel like that's cheating Central entirely of the amazing season that they had. You don't want to play your best players against a really team because you guys are about to leave and you have to be. You're not going to Alabama or UGA or Florida State or Notre Dame or Nebraska. It's not one of those transfer teams. It's okay to play and then whatever you're gonna do, take the rest of the year off, take the rest of the season. It's not deep for you not to play this game. Sorry, but not sorry. You're going to Colorado. You're not going to Georgia or Alabama or Texas for that. You're not doing that. So there's no excuse for none of these players to play. And I think the reason that he might play them is only because there's a trade-off. The only reason why Deion Sanders, to me, will only have to coach this game is because of the slander and what's been happening between him and the mess that he's caused by leaving. If you decide not to coach, obviously you're not remorseful or wanting to feel like you owe Jackson State something by coaching that game. Because honestly, I think he would have sat out. I think he would have gave it to assistant coaches, or maybe he would have gave it to one of his quarterback coaches, like, hey, you can coach this game because I'm going somewhere else. But since he's been getting so much backlash and he knew he didn't handle this properly, he has no choice but to coach in this game. And then with his players, knowing that he's going to take some of the people with him and knowing that some of his players are going to enter into the transfer portal just because I'm not going to be able to play for a prime. I'm not going to be able to play for Deion Sanders anymore. I have to show him what I have in practice. I have to show him what it takes in the Celebration Bowl because those next practices and that last performance is going to help me go to wherever school I want to go to, plus maybe a nice little one-off recommendation from Deion Sanders wherever I tell him I want to go. This is not, I'm going to do it because I'm proud of my school and it's been great working with you, Deion. Is if Deion doesn't say that I can go to this school and he doesn't give me the recognition and the acknowledgement that I need to get into this school, my career is done. This is literally a trade-off. This is him trying to look good in front of his players and in front of the HBCU community so he can leave off on a good note. And this is his players trying to make sure that they have somewhere to land. I mean, in some way, maybe deep down inside me wants to say that they are proud and they're happy. And even though it was an emotional wreck, they're like, man, well, at least I got to say I played for Deion. Maybe somewhere deep inside they're heart like the Grinch, like 2 sizes small, that they're happy about that. But other than that, this is a transaction that they have to have right now because they know they need him. He needs the recognition, he needs the safety, and he needs for everybody to love him before he leaves. So that's what I really think this is. And I think the program, if most of the team enters into the transfer portal, and I don't know how he's worked that coaching staff in that instance, I think maybe in the next 2 years, they might have a A&T season. They might suck.
Jackson State? Oh, you mean as far as them being bad for a minute after the success? Okay, I'm about like, I don't know if I'm gonna give him A&T just yet, especially with Deion Sanders leaving. I'm like, I'm about to say.
No shade to my school. I love my school, but I mean, we had that transition period. We just weren't producing the numbers. We weren't recruiting the way that we needed to. Well, perfected. We weren't recruiting in the instance that we needed to have greater players to make sure that we maintained the status offensively that we were. I think Jackson State is going to fall a little bit. And I'm sorry that's happened. It's just been a greater impact than it was. Not saying that they won't have great players, not saying that the coaching staff won't be as great. It's really going to be the recruitment, because you set a standard that I'm going to bring a 5-star in, but then I'm going to take him right out because I don't know if I leave him there, he's going to be successful. And to that part is honorable. You did bring him there, and Travis Hunter deserves more than that. But at the same time, you just set a record straight that, hey, I brought him here, but he's not going to be successful here if I leave. So I don't know if that recruitment is going to be nice the year after this. So I don't say they do completely trash. I say they may, win a couple, make 4 or 5 games, and, the rest of the season just be questionable. But I don't think this is going to be a perfect landing spot after they leave. It's been too much turmoil. It's been a little bit of bad blood resonating. So I hope they all play. I hope everything goes well. But after this, I think Jackson State just kind of takes a breather and a pause, and they're just like, hey, our season may be bad, and we're going to have to do something about that. But this is not going to be great. I have no faith that it's going to be great after this. I think it's maybe going to take them a year or two just to kind of settle themselves completely. And that's just from the earthquake that Deion Sanders said. That's just me personally. And also for him not to win this, even though we know, I know that Central is, for him not to win this and then leave, it's driving the stake deeper into the heart than it already is, honestly.